Part 141. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1404. Apex School Bag. In fact, not only the powerful gods were stunned, but even a group of star-level creatures behind them felt that their previous perceptions were completely overturned at this moment. I'm confused about the definition of time. A primary star-level creature actually blocked the attacks of a group of powerful primary-level stars? Is this still the primary level of a star? Is there such a terrifying primary level of a star in the world? If it exists, can such a primary level of a star be called the primary level of a star? Every creature felt unbelievable at the terrifying strength shown by Jia Yan. Even before this battle, everyone knew that Jia Yan's strength was not as simple as that of ordinary star-level creatures, but no one could imagine that this powerful existence had reached such a terrifying level. An existence that is not an intermediate star level has exploded with strength that exceeds the mid-level star level. Grown-ups. Around Jia Yan, a group of subordinates witnessed the birth of the scene with their own eyes because they were so close. This terrifying power, which was like a miracle, made a group of subordinates' eyes pop out. Stop talking and help me block it. Jia Yan's brainwave power came out, and at the same time there was a sense of difficulty in his words, which made a group of subordinates instantly understand that even Jia Yan, with the cooperation of more than 150 gods, was not so easy. After all, the opponent is a group of powerful gods who are not weak in strength. How can one person stand alone for 150? It's more like a myth. In fact, what no one knew was that Jia Yan used some kind of trickery ability. That is, he took advantage of the domain of the stellar powerhouse and the characteristics of the divine kingdom of the godly powerhouse. After combining the two, part of the terrifying explosive power was actually similar to the sum of the two. The thing that is a combination of the realm and the kingdom of God is guided into the subspace. This is the essential reason why he can resist the attacks of a group of creatures of the same level. If anyone sees his secret, it is actually very simple to break his trick, because the power of the kingdom of God he possesses is extremely weak, so weak that it can hardly be manifested under the star-level field, so as long as he is in the field in the twisted land, bombard him with energy to explode the power of his divine kingdom. He doesn't even need to explode. He only needs to lose his balance with one blow. Then Jia Yan's extremely strange realm-like power will disappear, or even the moment the news breaks, it will affect his own body and cause great damage. But who here can see this flaw in him? Impossible. Don't tell, even those who understand what kind of power he is using now probably don't have anyone. A group of Jia Yan's squad members, after hearing Jia Yan's words, quickly secretly used their brainwave power and blasted out in an instant, gathering the power of the huge and terrifying gods and striking them fiercely. And out. Die. But after all, there is an essential gap in strength between the two sides. A battle between 11 people and more than 150 strong men of the same level. A head-on competition of strength is definitely an act of seeking death. On the other side of the gods, a commander suddenly roared fiercely. One sentence. Along with his roar, a group of ordinary gods around him suddenly surged the energy in their bodies, suddenly increasing the power they released. Puff. At the same moment, Luo Longxi beside Jia Yan spurted out a mouthful of blood. As the subordinate closest to Jia Yan, she also bears the greatest power pressure. Even though what she is bearing now is at most 1% of Jia Yan's burden, the terrifying power that spreads to her body is still she was severely injured. The three great gods behind her also burst out with blood. However, at this same moment, Jia Yan would not sit back and watch them get seriously injured or even die. This was not his intention. His hind foot suddenly stepped on the side behind him. A distortion appeared, and Jia Yan's power suddenly moved. A group of subordinates around him, together with him, retreated back and entered the subspace. Subspace vibration, quick. The commanders of the gods had already prepared a way to fight against Jia Yan's entry into the subspace. However, what they thought at the time was that Jia Yan would retreat into the subspace alone. They never thought that Jia Yan would be in the subspace. After fighting them head-on, they were able to escape into the subspace with their subordinates. Just such a situation made these commanders, and even the gods in general, have a vague feeling of something bad in their hearts. After all, Jia Yan's strength is the biggest variable in this war, because even if the gods are in this situation, as long as there is no Jia Yan, they think that their individual strength is even better than that of a star-level powerhouse. Weaknesses, but as long as they use their joint fighting skills, it is not impossible to turn defeat into victory. But there was Jia Yan, and now they used the most powerful move to attack together, but they were still blocked by Jia Yan. He even protected the surrounding subordinates and even protected them from escaping into the subspace. This made it clear that Jia Yan's strength completely exceeded their expectations. Don't be afraid, this guy can't get close to us. If he dares to get close, we will be destroyed. Puff. When a god who had reached the level of a super strong man was just uttering words of encouragement to his subordinates, suddenly, a strange wave flashed beside him, and then a sharp front foot stabbed his waist and abdomen. How is it possible? Why did our attack? This commander was in existence with the same strength as the two super powerful men of the Nadala ancient god system, but under the sneak attack, he could not even sustain a move. Before he said anything, the front foot the master's brain waves surged with power. Boom! Small explosions went up all around, and while all the gods were so horrified by the scene that they forgot their movements, the owner of the forefoot retracted his forefoot. And on this foot, there is a shining crystal of the gods. Why? Didn't we just launch an attack in the subspace immediately? One by one, the gods felt that the world was turning upside down at this moment, and none of them knew what to do. They only felt a sense of fear filling their hearts, because none of their fighting methods against Jia Yan was of any use. Jia Yan even ignored the possible danger and had a hard time with them, but he still didn't hurt him in the slightest. Even though several of the betrayers of the gods appeared to be injured, this was not good news for the gods at all, because the inability to hurt Jia Yan meant that Jia Yan, a strong man, had the ability to fight them head-on. The above scene was already beyond their expectations, but the current scene made them even more unbelievable. Their hearts trembled, thinking that they would definitely not be able to compete with Jia Yan. Because just when Jia Yan led a group of subordinates to escape into the subspace, they had already erupted with a terrifying force comparable to the previous ones, completely destroying the surrounding subspace. From their point of view, no matter how terrifying Jia Yan's subspace talent is, he can't escape very far while leading a group of subordinates, right? Then Jia Yan, who was attacked head-on by a group of strong men, would definitely be seriously injured, and perhaps none of his subordinates would be left alive. But what is going on in front of me? Each of the powerful gods felt that the sky was about to fall. Facing Jia Yan, their previous experience in fighting against stellar powerhouses was completely useless. This creature seemed to be tearing apart their understanding of the entire universe. In fact, Jia Yan retreated into the subspace, but he smiled slightly in his heart. You're stupid. Sure enough, the divine beings are just a bunch of fools who don't know how to adapt. Jia Yan obtained a huge divine crystal with one strike, and this divine crystal even ranked among the top 3 among the divine crystals he harvested. He soon flew to a planet in subspace. The land of huge mountains. That's right, it's a huge mountain in subspace. This mountain peak is 30 kilometers long and wide. Its surface is now almost falling apart. It seems to have suffered a terrifying bombardment that caused the mountain to completely shatter and almost turn into particles. Fortunately, the mountain was extremely huge, and the mine was deliberately looking for a mine with a very high metal content. Therefore, Zhao Shiyuan barely managed to block the bombardment. Sir, You actually transported such a huge mountain here, this and this. Each member of Jia Yan's team was behind this huge mountain. Each of them thought that they were blocked by the huge mountain and were not attacked in the subspace before. It's just that they are now very uncomfortable in the subspace, especially the several star-level experts who have no talent in the subspace. They will be distorted in the subspace and cause some physical injuries. Fortunately, the 4 female gods on the side protected them with the kingdom of God, so they did not suffer too much injuries. Haha, if you look more carefully, I just prepared this mountain casually, but I didn't expect it to actually work. Jia Yan smiled, feeling very proud of himself for preparing such a thing before the war broke out. Well, I can see that this is actually a mine not far from the battlefield. It is found to be very hard and some kind of refined iron. There were several star-level ones some time ago, so I went there to have a look. Sir, you actually brought him here, this is too. As for Jia Yan bringing the entire mountain to the battlefield, all the subordinates of Jia Yan's team were impressed by Jia Yan's execution. You must know that even if a star-level powerhouse is powerful, it will definitely take a certain amount of strength to dig out such a huge mountain, not to mention keeping it in this extremely twisted subspace to prevent it from being destroyed. This must not be easy even for Jia Yan. Even if it's not easy, isn't it great to be able to achieve the current effect? Okay, now you stay here and see how I can make these self-righteous gods cry for their fathers and mothers. Apex School Bag. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1405. Jia Yan's plan was to use a huge dense mine from the outside world to bombard and offset the brainwave power of the group of gods. You must know that the mine is not an ordinary mine. At least on Earth, such heavy metal minerals cannot be found. The dense materials in it can even be made into important parts of some battleships, which shows its hardness. But just like that, under the bombardment of a group of strong men, it almost fell apart and almost collapsed completely. Fortunately, the outside world did not attack the subspace again, because one person was killed by Jia Yan, who was in good condition, and they were completely in chaos. How is it possible? Why is Jia Yan's strength so terrifying? Under the joint attack of our army, he can still kill one of us. You must know that we can use the secret skills of the gods. Even if he had the information about Luo Longxi, he wouldn't be able to easily break through our secret technique. The secret technique would be broken so easily by the gods joining forces. How could he have controlled it for millions of years? All the powerful gods can't understand why Jia Yan's strength is so terrifying. Even ordinary mid-level star-level creatures, their so-called god kings, can't be so powerful, right? It's not the title of God King. But that's not the only thing they don't understand. Puff. With another blow, Jia Yan rushed out of the subspace, suddenly causing a bloody storm among the gods of ordinary strength. How dare you come to our center, you are seeking death. Several gods reacted and quickly unleashed the power of the kingdom of God. The divine kingdoms, like compatible forces that merged with each other, quickly completely enveloped Jia Yan's location. There are so many kingdoms of gods, and seeing how you deal with them, there really aren't many ways to deal with the kingdoms of our gods and ordinary stars, let alone how you can deal with so many of us by yourself. A group of gods smiled ferociously at Jia Yan. Their kingdom of gods had exploded with all its strength, covering Jia Yan in the center of them, who had just killed an ordinary god and taken out the crystal of the god. Oh, the kingdom of gods and gods. When I first came to this planet, it was an extremely scary move for me, but now. Jia Yan felt that his whole body tightened instantly, and the power of the divine kingdom made Jia Yan's whole body seem to be trapped in a quagmire, with no possibility of escape at all. But when the gods thought that this move worked, more surrounding gods would use their own divine power to surround Jia Yan. Puff. All the gods felt a trembling power in their own kingdom. Countless powers from the kingdom of God seemed to be suddenly shaken by this trembling force, causing chaos. Why, his power can actually destroy the stability of our kingdom of God, this. The gods, one by one, were completely unable to understand the shocking force that Jia Yan erupted at this moment. Even at this moment, they felt that Jia Yan was faintly not within their divine kingdom at all. In fact, Jia Yan did slowly disappear into the spirit. One by one, the gods have exploded in strength. Even if the kingdom of gods that covers him now is only about 20, it is still a huge pressure for Jia Yan. After all, his strength is not really a star-level mid-level power. No one, not even ordinary mid-level star-level experts, could resist the might of the kingdom of God unleashed by this group of gods. So he turned to the power of recent research. That is, while shaking his own ripple power, he slowly falls into the subspace. No, this Jia Yan wants to escape. Where to escape? Seeing that Jia Yan was about to leave, a group of gods quickly gathered the power of the divine kingdom, but they found that Jia Yan in their own divine kingdom did not seem to exist, or in other words, although he was there was an existence of great power. But they couldn't restrain it at all. What kind of power is this? I can feel a little bit. He actually incorporates a sense of power from our gods. This is the power of the kingdom of God. It's impossible. He has stellar strength and can also possess the power of our kingdom of God. This is nonsense. He must have used some special method. Quick, this is a blasphemy to our gods. We have to arrest him and ask him where his practice method comes from. Otherwise, others may learn this technique in the future. This will shake the foundation of our gods' things. At this moment, the gods were not thinking about how to defeat Jia Yan. They actually wanted to catch Jia Yan and ask where the fighting skills he was using now came from. For every god, the god system is extremely great. This is like the system of the powerful in the universe. They think that their own system is the most perfect. Oh, maybe it is not that perfect, but it is definitely better than other systems. Even if it is not better, it will definitely not allow others to offend. Because their strength and heritage are based on this, of course they cannot let others bring any shadow to their system. And what Jia Yan is doing now is like smearing a little bit of darkness on top of the god system. After all, before this, there must be someone trying to integrate the god system and the cosmic powerhouse system, but how could anyone succeed? The fundamental reason why the two major systems cannot truly be integrated is actually because the two major systems follow fundamentally different paths, and Jia Yan is able to absorb the power of the divine system because of his racial talent. It has to be said that the evolved beasts are a terrifying race that defies heaven. At least until now, Jia Yan has never seen a race that is more defiant than himself. The gods frantically wanted to keep him, but Jia Yan just sneered slightly, and then slowly stepped into the subspace under their desperate gazes. I want to kill him. This guy can actually decipher the moves of our gods. This is absolutely the greatest blasphemy to our gods. How to kill? Can you kill him? I can tell that we can't kill Jia Yan at all because of his strength. We should just wait for help. When the god king of Tiantat arrives, he will definitely die without a burial place. When a group of gods saw Jia Yan calmly escaping from their siege, they all looked desperate. Even at this moment, many gods burst out with terrifying power, and their strength was temporarily unable to recover. You must know that this is just dealing with one person. Of course, the other star-level experts in Jia Yan's team also played a certain role, but they only helped Jia Yan resist the energy for a while in the first wave. In the eyes of the gods, it was not possible at all. It didn't have much effect. But is this actually the case? Of course not. Even if Jia Yan's strength is heaven-defying, it is not so heaven-defying. Puff. Within the subspace, Jia Yan couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood from his mouth. His mosquito blood had undergone countless mutations and enhancements, and its current color was bright red, no different from human blood. He swayed. It's such a powerful secret technique of the gods, but a group of gods have paid such a heavy price to deal with me alone. Each one's combat power is a little weaker. I remember that the fighting time of the gods is very short, right? What's next? It's time to mobilize. Jia Yan deliberately hid in a place where others could not see him. The reason why he spit out this mouthful of blood was not because he was seriously injured, but because he had been besieged by so many gods before and his body was compressed to too many places. He did not spit out this mouthful of blood. The body will feel very uncomfortable, but there will not be that much pain after spitting it out. And my subordinates have helped me a lot, otherwise, I would have died in the first wave of attacks, but I would have been in extreme embarrassment, or even seriously injured. That would not have had the current effect. Everything about Jia Yan seems to be his own calculation, even the strength of his subordinates. Of course, if he had done something just now, his own strength would be enough to resist so many powerful gods, and he would definitely be the first to attack him. Start killing. It's a pity that 150 powerful spiritual beings can be killed head-on even if he is not the current one. I was injured a little. If I continue to fight, the injury will definitely become more and more serious, and the result of the battle will be to kill 5 or 6 gods. There is also the danger of their fighting style and weaknesses being discovered. So I will do as little as possible next time. At least my 2 major goals have been achieved now. Jia Yan knew clearly in his heart that what he did was to bring great psychological pressure to the other party. After all, with a strong man like him sitting here, the other party would have great scruples when he took action. Another advantage is that the powerful gods can explode a large amount of power before they officially start the war with the stellar army. According to the strength and weakness of the powerful gods, they will be weak for a period of time after they explode with power, even if some gods are not very weak now, but if the stellar army is willing to take action, then a small gap will make a big difference, and the next step will be the big results. Sir, are you okay? After Jia Yan returned to the giant mine, he saw a group of subordinates still healing here. I'm fine. Let's go back first and let them take action. Jia Yan nodded lightly, his expression indifferent, and it was unclear whether he was injured or not. Of course, the subordinates have no opinions or opinions. After all, they are increasingly aware of the huge gap in strength between them and the leader Jia Yan. Fly all the way through subspace and return to the stellar army. Jia, Master Jia Yan. Here, a group of star-level experts were also completely frightened by Jia Yan's deeds of fighting against a huge army of gods by himself. Seeing him returning from the subspace with his subordinates, a star-level powerhouse, one of the best in the star-level alliance, quickly flew forward with great respect. Now that our little guide has shown his strength and sincerity, won't your alliance show your sincerity next? Download the free reader. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1406. This. The star-level powerful creature's expression condensed. However, facing Jia Yan's gaze that did not release any pressure, his expression froze as if he was being stared at by some ancient terrifying beast. The strength Jia Yan showed just now was so powerful that he was not sure he could catch his blow. If Jia Yan also uses that extremely weird subspace talent, coupled with the extremely strange domain-like power, then the group of star-level creatures here might end up like the powerful gods over there, no matter how many people there are, unable to kill it. Of course, star-level powerhouses are different from god-level powerhouses. Among so many star-level creatures present, some areas are expected to have a restraining effect on Jia Yan's strange power, but this does not guarantee that Jia Yan can be defeated. In other words, Jia Yan alone can threaten the current Stellar Alliance team. Okay, sir, since you have consumed part of their strength, we will take this opportunity to attack them. However, we cannot guarantee the results. Jia Yan waved his hand indifferently. Not long after, a group of star-level creatures, totaling more than 80, rushed toward the gods. This is also a strategy thought up by the star-level side. It's not that they don't know that the current divine side has put in a lot of effort to deal with Jia Yan. According to the ability of divine creatures to restore strength and combat endurance, it must be there is still a large part of the strength that has not been recovered. If their entire army went into battle, they would definitely achieve fruitful results, and they might even be able to defeat all the gods once and for all in one battle. But they didn't dare to mobilize in full force. Because behind them, there was Jia Yan, who even though he looked like a friendly force, he still didn't know whether we were the enemy or not. Even though there are not many members in Jia Yan's team, and the other star-level combat powers except Jia Yan are almost not too strong, the only thing they are worried about is Jia Yan. What if Jia Yan took action behind the scenes of their battle with the God's army, or waited until they had solved the God's side and then made a sneak attack? No one dares to imagine that kind of outcome, so they would rather play it safe. After all, judging from the process of this battle, it seems that Jia Yan is the one who is anxious. Their stellar alliance is not anxious at all. Sir, they actually don't trust us. It's a shame we fought so hard before. The beetle monster came to Jia Yan's side, feeling faintly unhappy with the other 50 or so star-level creatures guarding one side. As for him speaking too loudly, a group of stars heard him. The longhorn monster doesn't care about this. Now he is firmly branded as Jia Yan. Even if he doesn't say anything, others who are hostile or disgusted with Jia Yan will also be disgusted with him. It's better for him to take the initiative himself. Speaking for his master, he was disgusted by those stellar powerhouses. Forget it, anyway, I don't expect them to be able to defeat those powerful gods. Besides, if I don't give the gods a chance, if they blow themselves up one by one, I will die. Jia Yan smiled slightly. In fact, when he saw the current battle scene, it was what he wanted to see most. Because he just wants a group of stellar powerhouses to slowly consume the energy of the gods. Although they also have certain recovery methods, and there are even some whose strength is earth-shattering, it is nothing in front of Jia Yan. Jia Yan just wants to fight with those star-level creatures quickly. When the gods are weakened to a certain extent and there is no time to rest and recover, he will go out boldly. At that time, he used his new fighting method and matched it with his subordinates, and he might be the biggest winner of this war. Of course, others didn't know, but what he wanted was the crystal of the gods, and no one would compete with him. It's almost there. Are there 2 days left? Within 2 days, this war must be over. Jia Yan calmly glanced at the sky, where he could see nothing except a patch of dark clouds and smoke and dust caused by the battle. But he understood that there was a fleet of powerful men approaching quickly. This was Jia Yan's biggest danger in this stellar battlefield. After all, a stellar mid-level powerhouse has top-notch combat power in the stellar battlefield. Even that stellar mid-level being will not be an ordinary stellar mid-level one. Jia Yang still remembered that when they first met, that mid-level star creature almost killed him and the Edissa with one blow. The second time they met was when he was besieged by them on the White Planet. If he hadn't had an idea and used Starry Sky Ghost's tactics, he might still have been unable to make a move in front of that stellar mid-level. Now, come on. Jia Yan stared at the sky and then looked away. In the battlefield directly in front of them, the stellar creatures were already fighting against the existence of the gods. The two sides fought fiercely from the beginning. Not much. You actually dare to bring so few people and come to fight our 150 gods. Since you look down on us, don't leave this time. Don't say so much. If you were in good condition, I wouldn't dare to come here to provoke you. But how many of you have lost more than half of your strength now? We are not afraid. Come on, we have not decided the winner before, but we must tell the difference this time. Come out. The war in which the gods stubbornly resisted was full of blood from the beginning. Star-level stars fought together with the besieging gods, while the remaining gods were scattered on the ground, or joined forces, or used their own secret techniques to occupy hundreds of kilometers in the sky. The grand scene of the war inside, completely controlled. At the beginning of the war, it was extremely unfavorable to the stellar side. In an instant of collision, 5 star-level experts lost their lives under the joint secret attack of the powerful gods. And this is also the first time since the beginning of the entire war that a star-level powerhouse has fallen. Such a scene made the star-level powerhouses participating in the war feel shocked, and they understood that the war in front of them was not a small fight before. Instead, it was a war between stellar combat forces that could kill them at any time. Boom boom boom. In the endless sky, the war is getting more and more open. After all, for stellar and spiritual powerhouses, it is normal to fight for tens of thousands of kilometers, or even to fight in a circle on this planet. Things. But the current war situation does not allow the powerful gods to fight so far. They are afraid that if they fight, they will be made dumplings by the strong stars. Therefore, at this moment, even if the battle is beneficial to some powerful gods, it can be seen that when their stellar opponents escaped, they could only gnash their teeth and retreat to their home base. However, it is different on the side of the stellar level. They wish that the battlefield would be far away. After all, it is the gods who are shrinking now, not them, so they deliberately let go to widen the distance between the gods and the large team. Even if there is no chance of victory, it can prevent the gods from joining forces with the surrounding fellow gods. It has to be said that when the gods joined forces, their strength really improved by leaps and bounds. Even if they had the shortcoming that their strength could not last, it was not so obvious in this battle. Even if they attack Jia Yan with great strength, they will cleverly hide in the headquarters palace and provide energy bombardment support to the outside world. Under such circumstances, hundreds of thousands of star-level warriors who attacked and left behind the corpses of more than 10 star-level warriors fled back in a state of embarrassment. Ha, so it turns out that this is the strength of your alliance. Jia Yan looked at the returning stellar team and said with a slight smile. Jia Yan, don't bully others too much. We have already gone out to kill the enemy. What else can you say? The star-level creature leading the team was also slightly injured, but the powerful god who fought against him was even more seriously injured. At least in Jia Yan's opinion, he was still effective during the battle. Oh, you did go out to kill the enemy, but aren't there people here who didn't go out to kill the enemy? Jia Yan turned his head lightly and looked back at the group of creatures around him. A group of creatures around Jia Yan is the group of 50-plus star-level experts who monitor Jia Yan. Jia Yan, what do you mean by this? Among the 50-odd star-level experts, one whose strength should not be underestimated suddenly looked ugly and asked Jia Yan coldly. Don't you understand what I mean? What my lord is saying is that you are so cowardly that you dare not go to the battlefield. The beetle monster on the side said this directly and without grace. As a star-level powerhouse, no one is a fool. Since my master has the intention to confront these star-level powerhouses, the longhorn monster listened to his advice and of course came forward to say mocking words, even if he said it wrong. He is just a subordinate and will not cause a direct war between the two parties. Several star-level powerhouses on one side also instantly understood what this meant and started mocking him. Yes, our Jia Yan team deserves the most credit for being the first to appear, but your alliance actually dispatched half of its people. This is outrageous. If all members were dispatched, wouldn't it mean that the dead and injured brothers would not die as well? It seems you are responsible for their deaths. Fortunately, when I was in your alliance, I didn't encounter any war, otherwise I would have been killed by you. Several female gods stood beside Jia Yan and did not speak, because in this sensitive situation, if they, as the original gods, spoke, it would probably be the breaking point of the conflict. Jia Yan, is this what you ordered your subordinates to say? The leader of the 50 or so stellar level experts, scene level, had a cold expression and looked at Jia Yan coldly. Jia Yan would not be surprised by his pretentious look, he just smiled slightly at this moment. I didn't ask them to say these things, but what they said makes sense. I think 50 of you should also go on the field. After you finish playing, our team will go on. What do you think? Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1407. If this continues to consume the strength of the gods, their weakness of no endurance will definitely be magnified infinitely. Then it is our time to win. This also proves that you have not eliminated the war. What do you think? Okay, it's our turn to fight, but we have fought, so don't you, Jia Yan's team, say you won't fight. The creature who led more than 50 star-level warriors looked at Jia Yan with a gloomy and cold expression, and then without looking back, he led the more than 50 star-level warriors under his command to the god. The place of palaces. In fact, on their part, they were not really aroused by Jia Yan's few words of provocation. But they also understand that since the war has ended like this, they must consume the strength of the gods faster and more effectively to pave the way for the final blow. Jia Yandu was the first to fight, and the result was probably the best. At least they consumed the most powerful power of the gods, and then killed several gods. As for the more than 90 star-level experts who came up later, the battle was extremely fierce, but the results were weaker. But it is true that after 2 wars, the gods over there are already exhausted. If they fight 2 more battles, they will all collapse. This war will also lead to great gains at the stellar level. Ended with a complete victory. Of course they understood this, so when Jia Yan came up with the method of stimulating generals, they just agreed to it. Here we come, these stellar bastards. On the side of the gods, when I saw the stellar alliance here, another group of 50 stellar warriors flew out. Although the number and strength were definitely not as strong as the previous team, their strength after 2 battles, the loss is also considerable. So their expressions were still solemn, and they instantly entered a state of war. Everyone, be careful. According to their arrangement, Jia Yan's team will appear after a break. If you can save some energy in this battle, otherwise we will encounter Jia Yan later, and our losses will definitely increase bigger. A powerful god spoke to a group of ordinary gods beside him with great dignity. Before the ordinary gods could respond, the 50 star-level experts who came had already launched an attack. Counterattack. These stars are too small in number and pose no danger to us. We just need to use joint skills to counterattack them. After 2 rounds of battles, the strength of the gods was greatly reduced, but this time they faced only 50 star-level experts. There was not much difference in strength between the 2 sides. Now that the stellar powerhouses are able to suppress the gods, it is actually because of the emergence of Jia Yan, a variable. Let's not mention the previous wars. Just talk about this general attack. Without Yan's appearance, without Jia Yan's first wave of attacks, caused the 2 most powerful moves prepared by the powerful gods to be wasted on him. Those 2 moves just now are estimated to be able to kill the Stellar Alliance and defeat them. But now because of Jia Yan and the consumption of his first battle, even if the gods have secret skills, they are of no use because their energy consumption is too high. In this case, no matter how terrible the secret skills are, there are still some. What is it for? Die. Boom. There was a bombardment, and a god died tragically under the attack of the leading star-level creature. With more than 10 casualties in the team, the stellar leader returned to the rear of the battle with an unsightly look on his face. Okay, now it's your turn, Master Jia Yan. He was extremely unhappy with Jia Yan, because every star-level creature in the team around him was a loyal subordinate who truly believed in him. Now 5 of them died and 5 or 6 were injured. Although the gods were also wiped out. They killed 5 or 6, but they only maintained an unbeaten streak. And all of this is Jia Yan's provocation. He completely blamed Jia Yan for his smooth flow. Haha, of course I will fight, but my friend, you don't seem very satisfied with me. If you have any opinions, you can say it and we can have a good talk. If we really can't go on, we can have a fight. I do not mind. Jia Yan smiled coldly, then walked up to this stellar creature, scaring him so much that he quickly took a step back. No, it's nothing. Master Jia Yan, how could I have any opinion on you? Without the first wave of consumption by your team, we might not even be able to break into their palace now. The leader quickly responded carefully to Jia Yan's words. He was so angry before that he spoke those words without restraint. Now thinking about it, he was about to break into a cold sweat because he remembered, with Jia Yan's terrifying strength, if he wanted to take action, his disabled team of less than 50 people would not be able to stop him at all. As for the team on the other side, whether they will help them or not is a question. Humph, it's okay if you don't have any opinions. I thought you wanted to fight with me. It seems I was wrong. Okay, let's go fight first and then come back. Jia Yan smiled, then swung his big foot, and a group of star-level and god-level subordinates behind him flew up with momentum. You must know that those 2 groups of star-level creatures, one numbering close to 100 and the other more than 50, were all killed and wounded in the battle with the group of gods that had been greatly weakened. The members of Jia Yan's team were following Master Jia Yan. Although some of them were slightly injured, after resting for a while, they were much better. They may even be the best group of strong men in this battlefield. Creatures, let me ask you, in this situation, how can the members of Jia Yan's team not be bold and high-spirited? The stellar powerhouses on the side were all furious, but they did not dare to say anything. After all, the combat effectiveness of Jia Yan's team is there. Even if all the abnormal combat effectiveness is due to Jia Yan's existence, combat effectiveness is combat effectiveness. How dare they show any displeasure with the current Jia Yan team? Here we come, Jia Yan is indeed out, everyone. In the palace of the gods who had just rested for a short while heard the shout of a commanding god, and they all looked startled. The powerful god who issued the order was also shocked by the demeanor of a group of ordinary gods at this moment, and even his words were interrupted. Because the group of gods in front of him actually shrank completely after hearing Jia Yan's name, as if they had heard the name of some peerless demon. Well, everyone, let's get up and fight. If we don't fight, we will die. Even if we want to escape from this planet now, it is too late. With Jia Yan's speed and strength, none of us can escape. On the contrary, we will die faster. The divine being who gave orders was a being who had reached the level of super god strength. It turned out that he was also the ultimate boss of a divine system, but at this moment, the team he led did not even have the same number of gods as his original divine system. Because the gods of his divine system have suffered heavy casualties in successive battles, and the number of personnel has dropped to the lowest point since his command. Even if he adds a few scattered gods around him who have lost their divine systems, the number of people has reached the lowest point since his command. Less than the number of people in the previous pantheon. This scene made the god feel a sense of desolation. Kill. Fortunately, the other gods quickly understood his words, stood up one by one, and then roared solemnly at the approaching Jia Yan team. Their joint move was used again. Sir, we'd better retreat to the subspace this time, otherwise there will be danger. On this side, the other heroes of Jia Yan's team roared at the gods and used the moves again, with extremely solemn expressions. No need. They have lost a lot of strength, and the moves they use now are definitely not as powerful as before. Jia Yan calmly led a group of subordinates and flew to the temple. but the beetle monster next to Jia Yan wanted to say something more, but held back. He actually wanted to complain about Jia Yan's words, because since the gods have lost some strength, Jia Yan must also have it. In the battle just now, although they didn't see Jia Yan injured or anything, as a star-level powerhouse, it can be clearly felt that Jia Yan is still injured to a certain extent. And even if there is no injury, has Jia Yan's strength not declined? Jia Yan must have used all his strength to resist the two moves just now. Now that Jia Yan is facing off again, the strength of both sides has dropped a lot, so Jia Yan, who couldn't resist last time, will become able to resist? He doesn't think so. But he didn't dare to say anything. After all, Jia Yan was now extremely powerful. He was afraid that if he said anything, Jia Yan would hate him. Anyway, he won't die. At most, he can resist the power of joining forces with the adults. But if he is injured, he must be careful later. Just as the beetle monster and other subordinates were worried, when the group of gods saw Jia Yan arriving, they immediately gathered together and used their most terrifying moves, regardless of their unrecovered strength. That is the secret technique of the gods joining forces. Boom! A shocking momentum rushed towards him in an instant. "Here we come, sir, be careful." The beetle monster's expression condensed. He felt that although the terrifying power of this bombardment was not as terrifying as the first bombardment, it was definitely not to be underestimated. "Don't be impulsive, I'll do it." Unexpectedly, what almost drove him out of his mind at this moment was that Jia Yan, who in his opinion must have been greatly damaged in strength, actually shook his head to stop their approach, stepped forward with one foot, and headed towards the terrifying "where there is strength, slowly fly away." "Sir, let's join forces to stop it." At this moment, even the flower goddess Luo Longxi couldn't help but speak. But before they could step forward, Jia Yan was already facing the joint energy that had caused casualties in their entire team. "Haha, sure enough, after 3 battles, your strength has declined greatly." Jia Yan felt the terrifying shockwave in front of him, but nodded slightly with a smile. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1408. Why do Liang Jiayan keep urging the 2 stellar teams to attack? The purpose is to weaken the strength of the gods. Of course, the group of stellar powerhouses also had the same idea, but they probably couldn't imagine that as long as the godly powerhouses were weak to this extent, there would be no possibility of harming the current Jia Yan. A group of people all think that I will be like them, with my strength declining rapidly. Jia Yan smiled in his heart, and then a terrifying ripple surged out from the surface of his body. This ripple is now Jia Yan's most powerful backup, and it is also a huge resistance that can restrain the energy of the gods. But logically, this ripple power is linked to Jia Yan's strength. Now everyone on the battlefield is as tired as a dog, and his strength is declining rapidly. Jia Yan has resisted similar moves several times. No matter how terrifying his energy is, his energy must be lower than that of ordinary gods, right? But coincidentally, at this moment, everyone saw it. Jia Yan's surging ripple power actually didn't seem to have dropped much compared to the last time it erupted, and it faced the bombardment of the gods' joint brainwave power. Then, everyone saw in disbelief that the power of Jia Yan's surging ripples was indeed completely against the energy of a group of gods bombarding them, and they were instantly evenly matched. What? This is impossible. His strength actually hasn't declined at all. This. Whether it was gods, stars, or even Jia Yan's subordinates in Jia Yan's team, every powerful creature was completely stunned at this moment. After all, even if the fighting method used by Jia Yan is something they have never seen before, no matter what, if a strong man fights with energy, there will always be losses. They all fought so fiercely, and Jia Yan, as a person, should have lost the most strength. The creature's strength should have declined the most now. But they happened to see that at this moment, This star-level creature with astonishing strength burst out with energy comparable to that at the beginning of the war. The ripples violently pushed the power released by a group of gods together. There was no retreat at all. The first sign of almost collapse was as if it didn't exist. This time Jia Yan didn't take a step back. Come on, give me a blast. He could stand proudly at the front of his subordinates, resisting the bombardment from the gods in front, and then speak softly to his subordinates behind him. His voice sounded completely without any hint of reluctance to others. Oh, yes, sir. Attack. The 10 subordinates seemed to have come to their senses at this moment. They mobilized their own strength in an instant, released their power in the distance, concentrated fire to attack Jia Yan's gods, and burst out with brainwave power. Boom. Boom. Those gods were all working together to attack Jia Yan, but their secret method actually had limitations, that is, when they combined their forces, they could hardly move. Under such circumstances, Jia Yan blocked their combined forces, and his subordinates at the rear, the gods, could not escape the bombardment. Puff. Ah. Damn, duh. How so? A group of gods were unexpectedly bombarded by ordinary members of Jia Yan's team without any defense. Even if they could see the attack coming, they were unable to move at all under the combined attack. They watched helplessly as they were hit by the bombardment and then died. This was something that was unacceptable to any kind of creature. Especially the gods cherish their lives very much, because they consider themselves gods and the leaders of all things, and each of them believes that they should live to the end of the world. And in this situation, let alone whether they can survive or not, even if they die, they will die like a weak person without any resistance. This is unacceptable to the gods. No, I can't die here. I still have things to do and I haven't become a god king yet. How can I die here? Run away, this Jia Yan is invincible. Several gods were shaken instantly, and the result of the shake was that the link between the gods lost its effectiveness. Puff. The combined force exploded like a bubble in an instant. At the front of this group of gods, the super powerful god who concentrated his power in his body and commanded all the gods. Under the explosion of this power, he could not even curse, only his eyes were filled with unwillingness. Stare, and then the body is like sand, falling apart. It is simply the biggest joke that a super powerful god, who can command a god system, died because of a burst of combined energy. However, his death did not make Jia Yan feel any regret, especially when he saw that even if he died, there was still a huge divine crystal left in the same place. This was extremely disturbing to Jia Yan. Happy things. Puff. Without a leader, the great combined power of the gods in front of Jia Yan also lost its power. After a small sound wave, it disappeared directly. He, the most terrifying and powerful man in the entire battlefield, at this moment, was like a lion running out of the cage, revealing its ferocious fangs. Okay, let me kill you. Jia Yan smiled slightly, and then said this to the subordinates around him. After that, the ripple power of his body, which was no longer limited, was like an unstoppable scourge, sweeping across the entire palace in an instant. Buzz buzz. 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 Puff puff. There are gods one after another, whether they are ruthless gods or those who want to fight tooth and nail. They are still gods who want to escape, or they are dumbfounded and overwhelmed by this sudden change of situation. At this moment, the power of the ripple surged rapidly and suddenly enveloped it. What kind of power is this? Why is it so difficult for me to move? No, this is a realm with spatial attributes. No, why does it feel vaguely like the kingdom of God? What on earth is this? Jia Yan, you deserve to be damned if you study the power of my spirit. One by one, some of the gods recognized the strangeness of Jia Yan's energy, while others were frightened by the terrifying effect. You must know that there are still more than 100 gods present, even if it is just more than 100. The strength of the gods is so weak that it is only about half of the usual gods, but its strength is definitely not something that ordinary gods can confront head-on. Even an ordinary mid-level star would not dare to deal with them like this, right? But by chance, Jia Yan, a star-level powerhouse who was not even a mid-level star, really did this, and even his ripple power actually suppressed most of their power. Quick! You do it. How long have I been in control? Jia Yan turned his head and looked at the other side, who was also dumbfounded, looking at his master, who could control the miracles of more than 100 gods by himself, and his subordinates who were at a loss yelled. Yes, let's do it. Kill. Each of the subordinates, whether they were at the stellar level or the 4 female gods, seemed to have come back to their senses at this moment, and quickly flew towards a group of accused gods. Puff. Boom. The 10 people were like tigers that had entered the sheep rolls, killing the gods one by one without any mercy. Especially the 4 female gods. Logically speaking, the 4 of them are of the same species as the divine creatures. But at this moment, they actually killed no slower than the 6-star level experts. They were probably trying to get away with it. If they betray, just betray, and kill them, then no other gods on this planet will know about their betrayal. Although the stellar level creatures know it, it can be said that the stellar level and the gods are hostile parties. Even if they say something, the gods will probably not think it is true. Of course, they have not yet thought about whether to follow Jia Yan in the future or what to do. In short, they will first kill the gods who have worked with them and even touched them. This, should we go over and get a share of the pie? Otherwise, all the credit and spoils will belong to their Jia Yan team. Behind the battlefield where Jia Yan's team was killing everyone, the 2 stellar teams were equally shocked. What about the consumption of gods that we just mentioned? Why did it suddenly turn into a huge victory? And they never thought that Jia Yan's team could actually suppress more than 100 creatures and gods with the strength of a team, and even at this moment it was almost a one-sided massacre. Facing the question from an ordinary god, the 2 stellar superpowers who led the team looked at each other. They all smiled bitterly. Go and get a share of the pie? Do we dare? This Jia Yan is so outrageous. I now know that he has always been planning to let us consume part of the power of the gods, and then he will swallow it up alone. This with his strength, even if we fall out with him now, we will probably follow in the footsteps of those gods. That's right, forget it. You see, all he wants is the divine crystal. Although I don't know what he wants the divine crystal for, but since he doesn't want other things, or the demand for other things is not that high, it means that we still have a certain gain, that's all. If we don't go up to fight again, we can reduce most of the losses. Our biggest gain from this war is actually the territory of the gods. That's right, you can tell by looking at Jia Yan that he won't stay here for long. If he leaves, won't this entire planet without gods become our paradise from now on? As for the stellar powerhouses, when the war has progressed to this point, they are completely fooling around. Even if they want to step forward to help, they dare not, because after a while of fighting, one of them was killed by Jia Xia. The star-level powerhouse assigned by Yan flew out of Jia Yan's ripple power and looked coldly at the 2 teams of the star-level alliance that Jia Yan's team was slaughtering not far away. The warning was extremely obvious. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1409. This guy from Jia Yan's team is really domineering. A star-level powerhouse has an almost cold demeanor here. As a stellar powerhouse, he has never been treated like this before. Even if he meets someone stronger than them, everyone will respect each other on the surface. But the people in Jia Yan's team, and Jia Yan himself, treated them as if they were weak, and after taking advantage of them, they even wanted to burn bridges. Don't be impulsive. We can't afford to offend Jia Yan's people for the time being, and it's not like they didn't leave anything for us. Next to this stellar powerhouse is a stellar powerhouse who is even more powerful than him. But this strong man is relatively calm. But, well, there is no need to say so much. Since Your Excellency Jia Yan is willing to kill all enemies, we are satisfied. In the future, we will not occupy all these territories. Beside them, the stellar leader who led the team said calmly. Of course he was unhappy, but thinking about Jia Yan's strength and the fact that they would gain the most in the future, he felt relieved. The war over there is a war between 11 Jia Yan team creatures and more than 150 divine creatures. However, the situation of the war was not natural. The huge number of gods won overwhelmingly. It was even the other way around, with Jia Yan gaining an overwhelming advantage. Die to me. Do not come. One by one, the gods began to panic. Under Jia Yan's terrifying suppression, the subordinates beside Jia Yan in front of them were all roaring rapidly, and they were coming like lightning like wind. Then they flew by, the gods died, and even in their bodies, there were divine crystals that were faintly frozen by the power, but the divine crystals were not damaged, which allowed Jia Yan to get a good harvest later. Oh, it's very refreshing. We used to run away from so many powerful gods when we saw them, but now they are killed by us like this. A stellar subordinate was laughing while killing. You must know that in the past, when he saw such a number of gods, it was actually impossible to escape, let alone run. More than half of the powerful gods present were stronger than him, and the other half were almost equal to him. When he fought the gods in the past, when had he not been extremely embarrassed? At that time, he could not even imagine that one day, he would slaughter a group of divine creatures like chickens with an extremely terrifying master. Get out of my way. Suddenly, a god who had reached the strength of a super god creature suddenly exploded with all his power as he approached. As a super powerful god, he has always had plenty of strength. He had even vaguely anticipated the scene before, so he had been conserving his strength in the previous war. Sure enough, at this moment, his strength exploded, and Jia Yan's rippled power actually failed to control him in an instant. Puff! His figure suddenly moved, even though it was much slower than usual, it still opened a small hole in the body of the star-level subordinate who was killing him. The strength of the two sides is actually very different. Even with the help of Jia Yan's powerful ripples, their strength is still not something that Jia Yan's average subordinate can resist. As the creature was dumbfounded in disbelief, the god struck its body severely with one blow, and then flew towards the outside of the ripple land without looking back. Huh? You can still move under my control. Jia Yan saw the scene from a distance, and then his expression sank. He has finally figured out that his own ripple power can deal with ordinary star-level combat power, but it is beyond the power to deal with such a person who is above the average star-level primary strength. It seems that my power of ripples is not invincible. But with the current results, it is considered very good. After all, even if he can escape, it is because I am distracted and control so many gods. If I only deal with him one human, he may not be able to move. Jia Yan thought lightly in his heart, but his movements did not stop. Take one step and move forward. In an instant, his strength reached the peak that he can show now. However, when he moved, his rippled power instantly dissipated invisible. It turns out that when Jia Yan has been using this weird ripple power, he has never moved. He has always asked his subordinates to solve it. Even if he does it himself, he has never moved. He always uses brainwave power or something. And now when he moved, the ripples disappeared instantly. At this moment, all the gods were able to move. Even the power contained in the god that was about to be killed was about to explode. No one expected that Jia Yan's ripple power had such a huge shortcoming. But it is impossible to have no shortcomings. Ha, go die. The god who was about to be killed by Jia Yan's subordinates suddenly burst out with strength. His strength was already much stronger than the injured Jia Yan's subordinates in front of him. At this moment, he was no longer suppressed. The burst of power can definitely seriously injure or even kill the members of Jia Yan's team in front of him. Buzz. And just when the powerful gods, including him, felt extremely excited, a chuckle rang out. Then there was another terrifying circle, spreading out like an explosion from the surface of the fast-flying Jia Yan's body. What? This is the realm. One by one, the divine creatures who were about to fight back or escape for their lives, at this moment, felt the power of this wave of dispersion, which was an authentic and incomparable stellar field. Since Jia Yan has been fighting, except for the initial use of the realm, he has never used the realm again. Some gods even secretly said that Jia Yan had lost the realm after using that weird ripple power. But the appearance of the current realm completely shattered their delusions. Jia Yan not only has a domain, but this domain is also such a terrifying domain. Buzz. Puff puff. The power of cracks completely envelopes the divine creatures in the domain with tiny space cracks. As soon as they move, the tearing force will make them miserable. Even the creature that wants to attack will be stimulated to pain at this moment, and lose the ability to kill the enemy with one move. This domain is powerful, but it is not a complete power to control the enemy. They could have escaped originally, but at this moment, Jia Yan used the power of the domain to control them so that they lost their attack power in an instant. At the same moment, Jia Yan had already flown behind the escaping super god. You must be one of the top 3 gods of this planet. You are indeed very powerful. Your divine crystal should be quite big. Jia Yan's voice rang in the god's ears. Before the god could react in shock, he only felt a sharp object piercing his forehead. Puff. Jia Yan didn't give him a chance to speak, because God knows if he would explode his divine crystal directly. Jia Yan was looking forward to what kind of divine crystal such a powerful god would have. Sure enough, when Jia Yan stabbed the opponent's mind with his front foot, the god mobilized his strength, just to explode the divine crystal. Fortunately, before that, Jia Yan's brainwave power had already penetrated the opponent's body along the front foot, instantly getting ahead of him and protecting the divine crystal in his abdomen. You will regret it, God King, you will do it for me. Report. This super god, who had reached the top 3 levels of this star, could not survive even one move from Jia Yan and completely lost his life. God King. However, his last words made Jia Yan slightly startled. He is no longer the outsider star-level creature who knew nothing about gods before he first came to this planet. The strong men in the spiritual realm are divided into clear levels like the strong men in the outer universe. Their ranks are even more detailed than those of the outer cosmic creatures. For example, the star level, among the powerful people in the outside world, is simply divided into star level, intermediate level, and high level. But in fact, star level is a huge hurdle. There is almost a world of difference between the strength of elementary and high level people. It is even said that on a terrifying powerful planet in the center of a certain galaxy, the creatures there are born as star level people, but the entire planet reaches high level ones. There are less than 10, which shows how big the difference is between high level and low level. The gap between the intermediate and elementary levels at the bottom is actually the same. In terms of gods, these 3 levels are very clearly divided. Those with initial strength at the stellar level are called gods, and those who reach the intermediate level are called god kings. God King? Isn't that a mid-level star-level powerhouse? Even if it is a titled god with strength in the mid-level star level, it will be extremely terrifying. What's wrong? I actually provoke such a person. Exist. Jia Yan's heart skipped a beat. Although he couldn't guarantee that this god was trying to scare him before he died, he still had to be fully prepared. Hurry up and finish everything here, and then escape as soon as possible. This planet is no longer safe for me because of the intermediate level of the stellar academic field and the threat of the God King. After Jia Yan thought about this, he took out the divine crystal from the body of this divine creature. So big. This god has indeed reached the level of the top 3 powerful gods on this planet. His divine crystal is actually more than twice the size of ordinary divine crystals, and the power contained in it is many times more terrifying. Very good, he gave me a surprise, but where are the other powerful gods? Jia Yan had just killed the god and taken out the divine crystal, and then the aura in his body suddenly changed again. Buzz. The gods who had just about to break through the defense of Jia Yan's domain suddenly saw Jia Yan, who had killed one of the 3 powerful men in his family, and another ripple erupted in an instant, covering them again in an instant. No. Desperate sounds erupted again in this place of war. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1410. Because of the appearance of this ripple, a group of gods understood that they no longer had any chance at this time. Why hasn't his strength decreased a lot? Is his strength unlimited? Click, click, click. Dear fellow gods, I would rather die than suffer this humiliation. In order to prevent them from getting my divine crystal, I took the first step. Suddenly a god roared angrily, and then under a loud explosion, his entire body exploded. Even the long-horned monster next to him was affected by the explosion. If Jia Yan hadn't quickly used his brainwave power to pull the long-horned monster away as much as possible, and at the same time used great energy to calm down the power of the explosion, maybe the beetle monsters will be severely damaged. Yes, we would rather die than surrender. Suddenly, another god also activated his own brainwave power, detonating the divine crystal. Jia Yan was even more depressed. He quickly controlled his ripple power and used great strength to calm down the power of this wave of explosions, calming them down steadily without harming his subordinates. Jia Yan's energy has begun to decline. Who can do it again? On the side of the gods, someone noticed that Jia Yan's brainwave power was instantly weakened by the power of 2 explosions. He quickly yelled in surprise. It is extremely normal for Jia Yan's energy to decrease. After all, no matter how powerful he is still a primary star-level creature. To calm down the self-destruction of another star-level primary strongman is extremely difficult. It can even be said that it is an extremely miraculous thing that he can do something difficult twice in a row. So after these 2 events, his brainwave power consumed a huge amount of energy in an instant, and even his ripple control power faded away. Come here. No, I still have things to finish. Come on. However, at this moment, the gods who suddenly saw the possibility of survival lost their great determination and spirit of sacrifice, and started to shirk the blame one by one. Oh, are these the gods who claim to be stronger than the stars and unite countless gods? They are just a group of creatures that only value themselves. Jia Yan stared at these guys from a distance and sneered in his heart. Of course, even if he was sneering and disdainful in his heart, he would not feel that if he were put in the situation of these gods, he would perform much better than them. Because every powerful creature, like Jia Yan, has gone through countless hardships, maybe even many times more than what Jia Yan has experienced, before reaching such a level that he is almost contemptuous of most creatures. How about those who have experienced such hardships? Will living creatures be willing to give up their lives for others? At least Jia Yan couldn't do it, and even if these creatures were from the divine system, in Jia Yan's view, there wasn't much difference. Of course, in comparison, they are indeed more united than stellar-level creatures. I can't. I still have a goddess and a son at home, so I can't die. A god cried and roared, but he did not notice that behind him, a figure was faintly approaching. Son of God, goddess. Sorry, I also have a priest and a priest in my family, so you are the only one who died. A female voice sounded from behind him, and then a green leaf-like plant blade, like a blade, slashed across the head of this divine creature, directly cutting off his forehead. Without noticing, this divine creature fell to the ground without even reacting, and made no sound again. Even the divine crystal he wanted to explode was quickly pulled out of his body by a plant rhizome that looked like a palm, and was thrown into a pile of green leaves behind him. Looking closely at the pile of green leaves, there are already more than a dozen divine crystals. This green-leafed powerhouse is Lugolongsi, the flower god who has become the vaguely head of the female gods among Jia Yan's subordinates. For her, the current gods are all her enemies, and she also wants to go home. Also wanted to see her family again, so at this moment, she was completely desperate to kill. She is more familiar with the gods and is more proficient in killing than ordinary star-level creatures. In many cases, she even takes advantage of several gods under Jia Yan's ripples and does not have much sensibility to kill them from sight or walk out of the blind spot of the sensory wave, and then kill the opponent. This kind of efficiency is of course very fast. In addition to her, the other three female gods were also very fast in killing, especially a female creature with razor-like hard horns all over its body, which was very fast. No, if we continue like this we will be wiped out. Everyone remember me. Suddenly, a god was about to be killed by Jia Yan's subordinate, the oldest star-level creature. A fierce look flashed in his eyes, and then he quickly activated the god crystal. In an instant, a loud explosion sounded. What a beautiful thought! Just when the old star-level creature felt his scalp numb and quickly looked at Jia Yan, wanting to ask for help, Jia Yan's calm voice rang again. He did consume a lot of energy, but even more of it was hidden. Because it is too strong, like just now, the desperate powers will feel that there is nothing they can do, and they will have no chance to escape, and then they will self-destruct. So Jia Yan deliberately concealed most of his power, making them hesitate again one by one, waiting for others to contribute and continue to be killed. When the god looked away this time and exploded, Jia Yan reluctantly released his hidden power. You should leave quickly. There are still more than 50 gods left, and we probably won't be able to get them. Jia Yan shouted helplessly to a group of subordinates. Each of his subordinates felt a hint of horror, because they also felt that when Jia Yan took action again to help the old creature and greatly weaken the power of the self-destruction in front of him, they knew full well that those who had been deceived by Jia Yan, a group of remaining gods, were extremely desperate at this moment. They all wanted to activate their own strength and prepare to self-destruct together. Run, run, run. It's no joke that so many gods are self-destructing their divine crystals. At this moment, the demeanor of Jia Yan's subordinates changed completely, and then they retreated towards the rear one by one. Jia Yan's power of ripples also stopped, because even if he turned on the power of ripples, he would not be able to prevent so many gods from exploding. On the contrary, he would definitely hurt himself. But at this moment, a look of madness flashed across Jia Yan's eyes. You must get those two divine crystals. Jia Yan stepped into the subspace, and at this moment, several fast gods had already exploded their own divine crystals. Boom boom boom. The world was completely enveloped by this earth-shattering feeling of terror. None of the gods stopped, because even if they gave in and stopped, they could not escape the crisis of other gods' self-destruction. They could only smile bitterly, feeling that it would be better to let these huge fireworks come more violently. However, among them, there were two extremely powerful gods who did not take action. Okay, then Jia Yan left, probably to avoid their self-destruction. The two of us join forces and leave quickly. These two gods are the other two of the three powerful gods on this god star. Their strength is much stronger than that of ordinary gods. In this desperate situation, they still have some thoughts of survival. Of course, during the previous battle, their performance was too poor. Not only were they unable to break through Jia Yan's ripple power, they even barely reduced their own strength when several of Jia Yan's subordinates passed by. They were deeply afraid that they would find that their strength was unusual. You must know that even though those members of Jia Yan's team are also stellar powerhouses, the status of any of them was far behind them. The three super powerhouses, like the three seniors, they were extremely mysterious. As a result, during this war, they were not recognized by Luo Longxi and other four female gods. Okay, now it's time, let's go. When the two gods saw a god around them suddenly self-destructing, they quickly took advantage of the terrifying power of Ziba and shot far into the sky behind them. Huh! The members of Jia Yan's team, who had just retreated far away but were still bombarded by several blasts of energy, were dumbfounded and found that there were actually gods in the terrifying explosion who were trying to escape from a desperate situation. Chase. A stellar subordinate gave a cold expression. In fact, they have been confused by the continuous killing of gods with the help of Jia Yan, and they are somewhat confused about their own strength. If it were not for Jia Yan and the larger number of Stellar Alliance troops behind them, but they Jia Yan the members of Team Yan, those two super gods are not scary at all, they might even dare to turn around and fight back. But now they don't dare, and a group of members of Jia Yan's team here really dare to chase him. But at this moment, a sound suddenly rang. No need, your domain may not be able to be explored, but my kingdom of God can feel that our adults have already caught up. The one who spoke was Luo Longxi. She was also a little embarrassed, but this could not hide her shining eyes. A god does not have as much fighting experience as a star-level powerhouse. It is almost impossible for them to have any experience in killing beings of the same level in their own god system. After all, in the god system, killing other gods is unique. Sin, for no great reason, will be punished. Now that she has killed so many people, her energy and spirit have reached another level, and her combat effectiveness has increased faintly. But no one noticed her appearance now. After she said these words, they all used their probing power to find the escape place of the two gods. Sure enough, just behind the escape route of the two gods, a faint space opened up. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1411. Jia Yan is greedy. The strength of the two top three gods must be extremely terrifying. Even he was not sure that after killing one of them, he could stop the other from self-destructing. But he wanted these two divine crystals. So he made a greedy decision at this moment. That is, attacking two gods at the same time. The idea was extremely risky, but Jia Yan was not afraid of failing, because he had his own strength that surpassed these two gods as a guarantee. Puff! The two front legs shot out from the subspace almost in sequence. What? Not good. At this moment, the two top three gods felt the terrifying power from behind. Their expressions changed drastically, and then they twisted their bodies, trying to avoid moving forward or to the side. After all, it is difficult to say that a battle between strong men is distracting. They believe that even Jia Yan cannot catch the respective movement directions of the two strong men in an instant. If you want to kill both the greedy ones, you may not be able to catch either one. This is the reason why one who chases two rabbits cannot get one. Unfortunately, this is generally the case, but their opponent is Jia Yan. Even at this moment, Jia Yan deliberately released the illusion to make them think that either of them had the possibility of escape. Otherwise, if he had made them despair from the beginning, wouldn't he be able to activate his divine crystal in an instant? In order to obtain the divine crystal, Jia Yan also worked hard. Give it to me, explode. When the two gods used extremely fast speeds to escape from Jia Yan's pursuing figure, Jia Yan, who had just appeared in the normal space and even his hind legs did not appear in the normal space, at this moment, suddenly roared. With a bang, an extremely terrifying explosion suddenly exploded behind Jia Yan for some unknown reason. And under the push of this explosion, he rushed forward instantly. Puff! Puff! The two gods lowered their heads in disbelief, looking at the sharp front feet that pierced their bodies. They couldn't believe that Jia Yan was able to sprint at super fast speed just after he came out of the subspace. This made them all unbelievable. What kind of explosion is this? How is it possible? A god can't figure out what method Jia Yan used to reach that speed instantly at the last moment. You must know that there are strong and weak people in the instant speed increase. Jia Yan just said the speed of the explosion is definitely a mid-level star level, and it is possible to explode with instant speed-up strength. They all didn't know that even though Jia Yan had always shown terrifying strength, he had never been very good at acceleration, but at this moment, he actually reached a speed that could only be achieved by a mid-level powerhouse. When they looked back, they were the ones who didn't know why. They saw Jia Yan behind them. Part of a pair of hind feet fell off automatically. The traces of the explosion were still there, but they didn't know what caused it. They wanted to detonate the self-sounding divine crystal, but unfortunately found that their divine crystal was already blocked by Jia Yan's brainwave power. Jia Yan, don't be complacent, His Majesty the God King of Tianta will avenge us. A god looked at Jia Yan with resentment in his eyes, and then he could no longer speak. Just die. The super-powerful god on the other side shook his head unwillingly, said nothing, and his eyes fell into darkness. They are all dead. The two gods, like two ordinary gods, died directly under Jia Yan's hands. This scene made the group of Stellar Alliance creatures below tremble with fear. You must know that these two creatures, plus another super-powerful god who was previously killed by Jia Yan with one blow, are known as the three top gods on the God Star. Their strength is definitely not that simple. Even if the top experts in the Stellar Alliance want to defeat any of them, it will require a lot of energy and consumption, and it will even take the power of serious injury or even life. Win. But such a powerful spiritual master was like two small shrimps under Jia Yan's attack. He was unable to cause much trouble and died directly. This is another huge pressure on the creatures of the Stellar Alliance. The battlefield was strange and terrifying. The gods on the Divine Star were all wiped out in this war. In the Palace of the Gods, there was no palace for a long time, but a huge pit. This hole is thousands of kilometers wide. Not to mention palaces, even several cities surrounding ordinary creatures have been swallowed up. The entire huge Divine Star was undergoing changes at this moment. Dangerous clouds covered the sky and sun, and countless smoke covered the entire star. The earth is constantly shaking, and the ground is constantly hot. Huge power is released, disrupting the entire environment. Even if there is no strong intervention, this disorder will spread to the entire huge star, and even cause long-term environmental changes. Except for extremely powerful beings, all other creatures will die. After all, this is the energy fluctuation caused by the self-destruction of 50 terrifying gods. Even a middle-level expert would not dare to resist such an explosion. The self-destruction of 50 gods is enough to cause an extinction. This Jia Yan team is too aggressive. Are they going to burn the mill and kill the donkey? They are crossing the river and burning the bridge. We seem to be in danger too. Probably not. Jia Yan wants the divine crystal. We, a star-level expert, don't have a divine crystal. He shouldn't be that troublesome. Besides, our star-level expert is still quite strong now. Jia Yan, a lot of energy has been consumed, and I probably won't do it again. Sure enough, when a group of star-level creatures were waiting in the distance and saw Jia Yan slowly taking the divine crystals of the two super gods and putting them back into the subspace, they were slightly condensed and looked at them. Jia Yan flew back to their direction. Coming. A group of star-level creatures looked at the subordinates of Jia Yan's team and happily greeted Jia Yan. They all looked wary. Jia Yan's strength is too terrifying, but it is impossible for them to give in too much under Jia Yan's attack. Even if they really want to fight, they still have a certain confidence. But obviously, Jia Yan had no intention of attacking them, or he simply didn't like a group of stellar powerhouses. There will definitely be gains, but this is an extra step, and Jia Yan's strength is indeed much weaker. In addition, this group of stellar powerhouses are not just subordinates of the powerful gods. Maybe some of them are among them. Their fields or talents are suppressing Jia Yan, and even if they accidentally use some weird field to discover the biggest weakness of Jia Yan's ripple power, it will be even more dangerous. You must know that Jia Yan is like crossing a river on a line. The most powerful move is the ripple energy. If the weakness of this power is discovered, then he will not be able to fight against so many star-level experts. The risk is too high. Big. Everyone, according to our battle energy agreement, all other things will be given to my subordinates. I don't want anything except the divine crystal. Jia Yan did not ask them for the divine crystal, because he saw with his own eyes that these star-level creatures did not even obtain a single divine crystal. Okay, Lord Jia Yan, please be happy. Of course, if you need anything, we will try our best to provide it. After all, we don't contribute much. A star-level creature who led the team, his expression changed slightly at this moment, walked out and said to Jia Yan, I don't need it. Okay, let's do it. Either today or tomorrow, I will leave this planet. From now on, this planet will be the territory of your stellar alliance. Of course, can you keep it to prevent the gods from coming in again? It's up to you. Jia Yan shook his head lightly and said to them. Is that so? I said Lord Jia Yan will definitely not take a fancy to our little pond, so I wish you will become stronger and stronger in the future, and eventually become a galaxy. When a star-level creature heard Jia Yan's words, his expression became even more joyful. He quickly said this to Jia Yan sincerely. After casually dismissing the group of star-level creatures, Jia Yan watched them happily clean the battlefield, then turned back and looked at each other indifferently at a group of his subordinates. As you know, I'm leaving soon. There's no such thing as a banquet that lasts forever. You guys should clean up the battlefield and leave this planet after cleaning. Otherwise, if I leave, you won't have a foothold on this planet. Of the land. After all, they were also his temporary subordinates. They were a great help to Jia Yan, and Jia Yan was sincere to them. Grown-ups. Suddenly, among the entire Jia Yan team, the beetle monster seemed to have made some decision and walked out of the team. I, the long-horned monster, am still young and powerful, and I am very optimistic about your future. I wonder if you can truly accept this villain as your subordinate. From now on, I will serve as your vanguard, no matter how hard you die. Master Jia Yan, another star level, suddenly stepped out. I am willing to die for you even if I am a villain. Several star level stars actually stood up except for the old creature. Among their 6 star classes, except for the old star class, the others are all very young and will have the opportunity to compete in the future, so they feel that following Jia Yan is completely a big opportunity. They all see Jia Yan's strength and potential, and they all believe that he will definitely develop greatly in the future, and even as the departing captain of the Stellar Alliance said, it is possible to become a galaxy level. You know, that is a super being who can take charge of a region. Even in some large regions, there is not even a galaxy level leader. On the other side, Luo Longxi, who wanted to go home, changed her expression again and again at this moment. She wanted to go home, but after thinking about it carefully, she felt that after learning Jia Yan's cultivation method, her strength improved quickly, and she might have great potential in the future. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1412. Luo Longxi was also extremely enthusiastic about Jia Yan's strength. Being able to grow up with this strong man, even if he was just one of his subordinates, would definitely be a matter of chance. Especially here in Jiayan, there is no sense of separation between stellar powerhouses and godly powerhouses. Even if there is, it seems that after Jiayan himself has the shadow of the power of the gods, it will be quickly eliminated. Where can I find such an inclusive force? Even the future potential is definitely big enough. Finally, she gritted her teeth and finally made a decision. Sir, I am also willing to follow you, sir. Please grant me your permission. Her words caused the expressions of the female gods behind her to change drastically, because that was not what they had said before. But after they fell silent one by one, they looked at each other, and then they seemed to have guessed what Relancy was thinking. What future will they have after returning to the spiritual realm? Even if they should have a chance to completely eliminate the fighting method taught by Jiayan with a hint of stellar energy, in fact, even if they do this, can they still return to the spiritual realm? Once a person betrays the divine system, it is almost impossible to be accepted by others. It would be better if the things here do not spread. If the news spreads, even if they return to their hometown, they will not escape death. Sir, we are also willing to follow you. The three gods followed Luo Longxi and lowered their heads in supplication. Immediately, the situation was very embarrassing. Because everyone had made such a statement, only the old star-level powerhouse did not move at all at this moment. He was shaken, but he didn't have any thoughts of continuing to take refuge. Because he is old, Jiayan will definitely focus on killing everyone in the future. As for him, he will try his best to find ways to increase his lifespan as soon as possible, and also quickly find ways to break through to star level. The middle level approach is destined to be different from Jiayan's path. The star-level powerhouses and the subordinates of the gods were all looking at Jiayan to see how his nominal leader would answer them. Jiayan was also a little wavering. Forget about the old star level, even if he is willing to follow Jiayan, Jiayan will be worried that in the future he will always focus on how to increase his lifespan and delay his own affairs, or even the madness of the old strong man, but I have experienced it several times. The other 9 subordinates did not have those worries at all. Even after taking such a long time, Jiayan finally understood how useful it would be to have a group of subordinates with stellar combat power. Even if the strength of each of them is average among star-level combat power, star level is star level. You must know that if star-level creatures leave this god's planet, no matter which galaxy they go to, they will be overlord-level existence. Even if you send one randomly to sit in the Orion arm, you will be a terrifying powerhouse that intimidates those around you. But, Jiayan is a little unsure. Is he really ready to accept this group of subordinates? In the past, he had formed several forces, but every time, those subordinates were either irresponsible, or were quickly overwhelmed by Jiayan's strength, leaving Jiayan's back invisible. That won't help at all. No, they are different from the previous subordinates. No matter what, they are all stellar powerhouses. And if I improve the current training system and teach them, maybe their strength will be improved. After all, there is no one who can cultivate to the star level who has poor talent. Jiayan was silent for a long time, which made a group of anxious stellar powerhouses not sure what kind of decision Jiayan would make. You must know that stellar powerhouses generally do not identify one person as their leader. Even their current actions are no longer directed against a being whose strength seems to be similar to theirs, but towards an extremely powerful person. Only a mid-level star-level expert would do this. After all, there are existences with similar strength, such as a star-level junior versus a star-level junior. Even if they are optimistic about the other's future, they would not be so humble and want to be someone else's subordinate. But they did this to Jiayan. Okay, you guys. Follow me in the future. Finally, Jiayan raised his head, a glimmer of light flashing in his eyes. But if you follow me, you will not be allowed to betray me at will. Otherwise, you will know how serious the consequences of betraying me are. Do you understand? We know that we will never betray Master Jiayan. Okay, sir, I hope to follow you from now on. Very good. The 9-star level combat powers were just accepted by Jiayan again at this time, and they actually cheered, and each of them felt that the future was bright. After all, even if Jiayan doesn't teach them any unique way to improve their strength, they will have an extremely terrifying leader from now on. This leader will not be worse than if they join a stellar mid-level strongman, or even Jiayan's in the future. Maybe it will be more than just stellar mid-level combat power. Of course they were extremely happy to follow such a powerful person with unlimited potential in the future. Sir, On the side, the old star-level powerhouse had hesitation in his eyes at this moment, not knowing what to say. No need to say anything more, I know your scruples, and I won't blame you or anything. After all, I can't give you what you want, but I will give you a piece of advice. This planet will be in danger soon. You are still on your own, just leave. Maybe in a day or two, someone with murderous intentions will come to your door. Jiayan turned his head and didn't criticize this old former subordinate too much. He even thought in his mind, this guy must not join. This guy with a mental state that may explode at any time will become a team if he joins. A time bomb that can cause great damage to the team at any time. Okay, sir, I'll leave now, but those trophies? The old star asked uneasily. You can just help yourself. Jiayan was extremely pregnant. Thank you, sir. The old star was overjoyed, quickly thanked him, and then flew away, competing with a group of creatures from the Star Alliance that were already snatching the loot to grab the needed loot from the gods. Okay, you guys go find what you need. I'll prepare. I didn't lie to you just now. There will really be strong people coming. We need to leave as soon as possible. Jiayan turned around and said this to his subordinates, then ignored their shocked expressions and retreated back to the Aditha. The harvest is good. As soon as he returned to the Edisha, Jiayan completely took out a divine crystal he had obtained. A bunch of divine crystals were almost a big harvest that he didn't expect. There are a total of 189 gods in total, and I actually have about 100 divine crystals in my hand. This harvest is huge. Looking at the divine crystals he got, even with Jiayan's mind, he felt a burst of joy. After all, a few divine crystals have greatly improved his current strength. Although many of these factors are due to the fact that he is an evolved beast and the weird subspace talent, he is able to do it, but those few divine crystals, it's also a great contribution. But now that there are so many divine crystals, Jiayan is thinking about how strong his strength will be after using them. It is at least the peak of the primary level of stellar level, or even more than that. Maybe it will break through to the middle level of stellar level. Thinking of this possibility, Jiayan felt a burst of joy in his heart. After all, other strong people who want to break through to the star level need to fight life and death. In fact, it is not much easier than breaking into the star level from the semi-star level. You must know that just by looking at the number of primary and intermediate powerhouses, there will be at least one star-level mid-level powerhouse among 100 star-level primary powerhouses, and there may even be more than one. Only one of 200 to 300 people has a chance. And he, Jiayan, could so easily get such a great opportunity to break into the mid-level star level not long after he had just reached the elementary level. This is a challenge for any strong star level person. I guess it's all something to be jealous of. Of course, even if others want to learn, they can't learn it from the bookstore. Otherwise, if they have the ability, they can also swallow the divine crystal. Even other gods in the god system cannot easily do this, let alone star-level powerhouses with different systems. Okay, now let's get ready and see if there is anything on this planet that I need but that is hard to find in the outside world, such as minerals or something else. Jiayan actually wants a lot of things, such as those so-called sacred discs from the kingdom of God. He wanted to learn more about it, because this kind of thing was of great research value to him. Part of his current strength was even played by this divine disc. Just as Jia Yan continued to organize things, he also ordered other subordinates, such as the Scorpion tribe Bess, to collect more divine discs. His subordinates are all sorting out, or competing for resources with the Stellar Alliance. Although they don't have many people, in fact, every time they give in, it is the Stellar Alliance that gives in. Of course they are not afraid of the small number of Jia Yan's team members, but they are afraid of Jia Yan behind them. The terrifying giant black mosquito was like a huge mountain to them, weighing on their hearts and making them almost unable to breathe. If there is any struggle with these identified subordinates like Jia Yan, and it even develops into a fight, God knows whether His Excellency Jia Yan will kill them too. Of course, many star-level experts among them are not that afraid of Jia Yan's strength, because they can see that Jia Yan's most powerful ability lies in the several star-level players in their team. There is a way to restrain yourself. But in addition to the ripple power, Jia Yan also has a domain, as well as his subspace talent. Each of these is the reason why others dare not take action. Haha, it's really rewarding. Having a good boss makes all the difference. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1413. A group of Jia Yan's subordinates are provoking the Stellar Alliance like a fox or a tiger. Of course, they have a restraint, that is, they will not really provoke them and cause a war. At the same time, they were still taunting the old star-level creature who was huddled in the corner, picking up some useful things that others didn't like. Some people are just stupid and think that they can find a way to extend their life. Little do they know that in this case, it is more possible to follow a good leader. However, the kind of old and immortal people probably can't understand this. It's a question, their minds have long been frozen. You. The old creature let out an extremely angry sound from afar. But even if he was ridiculed like this, the stellar powerhouse's plan would not change easily, so he just stayed a little further away and continued to clean up the battlefield. Go away, this is where our Stellar Alliance is exploring. Suddenly, a creature from the Stellar Alliance looked coldly at the man who had just arrived at a corner where no one had been before and was about to explore the semi-destroyed palace. A creature from the Stellar Alliance flew over, wanting to drive him away. According to the Covenant, I am qualified to explore this place, and I should get the first wave of things. The old creature turned back and said calmly to the approaching stellar powerhouse. What kind of covenant? You are no longer a member of Jia Yan's team. Letting you pick up some garbage is already to give you face. If you don't know better, we will take action. The stellar powerhouse had a sneer on his face. He was not happy to be yelled at by the members of Jia Yan's team. Even the old man, who seemed to be no longer a member of Jia Yan's team, did not dare to say anything to stop him. Wouldn't it make me feel even more unhappy? But when the old creature was going crazy and about to have an attack, a cold voice sounded from behind him. Who says he is not from our team? Mr. Jia Yan said that before we left this planet, he was still a member of our team. Anyone who dares to do something to him will be doing something to our team. If you dare, try it. This is a cold female voice. The old creature turned around and saw that it was Luo Longxi, a female god who was originally in a different camp. You guys, you're lucky, old guy. Seeing that Jia Yan's subordinates had spoken out, the star-level strongman's expression immediately changed, and he didn't dare to say anything more. He just left a harsh word and left in embarrassment. Senior, please continue. In fact, Master Jia Yan understands you very well. Don't take it to heart. Luo Longxi said this and left the place again. Well. The old creature shook his head. He was indeed moved, but this move did not make him give up hope and join Jia Yan's team, fighting for Jia Yan until he died for the few lives he had. It was another day later. At this moment, the pressure on Jia Yan's heart became more and more intense. He finally gave up and wanted to go back to Immortal City to see what the little beauty was thinking, but at this moment, he was completely focused. It's time to go, otherwise the source of the huge pressure is probably coming. Jia Yan looked at the sky, the constant pressure made his heart almost solemn. And every subordinate, even a large group of members of the Stellar Alliance, also felt a little strange at this moment. After all, that source of pressure was not aimed at them, and as an evolved beast, Jia Yan's 5 senses were much stronger than those of ordinary creatures, so he had already sensed the coming person. A star-level powerhouse can only feel it at this moment. What kind of pressure is this? Could it be that a mid-level powerhouse is coming? No, this pressure is terrifying. It feels much stronger than the mid-level stellar-level adults I have seen before. He must be an extraordinary mid-level stellar-level being. I wonder if this is the man who arrested Jia Yan some time ago. Having said that, I think it's really possible, and yes, it's probably because those gods contacted this powerful man that they retreated. But they definitely didn't expect that we would actually do that with Jia Yan. Destroy them completely quickly. No, in the eyes of the other party, we are just accomplices of Jia Yan. Stop meddling in other people's business and leave quickly. On the side of the Stellar Alliance, the Stellar Warriors felt the terrifying power. After quickly approaching, their expressions changed wildly, and then they didn't care about the remaining loot, and they dispersed one after another. They knew that the owner of this power must be coming towards Jia Yan. They did not want to be thought of as Jia Yan's comrades, so of course they left quickly. Quickly, go back to the adults and take out all your aircraft. Don't use them if you can't make it in time. On the other side, the members of Jia Yan's team finally knew what kind of terrifying existence was behind Jia Yan to arrest them. They all smiled bitterly in their hearts and acted quickly without any panic. For them, since they have made the decision to seek refuge, they will have no regrets. Only the old star-level creature sighed deeply after feeling the energy in the sky. Then when he arrived near the battlefield, he immediately launched a giant battleship belonging to a star-level powerhouse. The battleship's engine spit out fire quickly, and then in an instant it soared into the sky in the opposite direction of the strong man's aura and disappeared. Damn it, that old guy deserves to be alive for a long time. He is still very old. He has been prepared for this for a long time. Every member of Jia Yan's team was stunned. They had no idea when this old guy had done such a trick. Even Jia Yan, who was in the subspace, sighed slightly. Among the powerful creatures in the universe, the longer they live, the less they can be viewed with superficial strength. Even Jia Yan was thinking that his strength was not there at the beginning. Before obtaining a large amount of divine crystals and the power of faith, it is estimated that the other party is unwilling to fight to regain this old star level. Otherwise, with his strength and the experience of the elder at that time, he might really be able to win from Jia. What escapes? That's all, I hope he can find a way to extend his life. Without looking too much, Jia Yan shook his head helplessly. Now, we have to leave quickly. Edisha, are you ready to leave? Yes, sir, but do we really not need to eject? Even if those guys are chased into the planet by ejection, I will be sure to escape. No need for the moment. Don't forget, we have subordinates now. We need to change our previous thinking. At least until the war has not eroded, we can't abandon our subordinates easily, right? Jia Yan and the Flying Light and Shadow Mosquito said this lightly, and then looked solemn. Besides, with my current strength, even the middle-level experts in the stellar academic field may not be able to resist a few more attacks. Even if it doesn't work, I still have subspace talent. If I can't defeat it, I can still escape, so in any case, the danger he poses to me now has been reduced a lot. Yeah, the master is very powerful. Don't be afraid of him. While the big mosquito and the small mosquito were talking, in the sky above the planet, Without waiting for the members of Jia Yan's team below to prepare the warship and supplies, a warship crashed directly down at a speed that exceeded anyone's imagination. "I'll go, the battleship coming here actually dares to come at such a fast speed and wants to ram it." Generally speaking, the speed of space battleships is extremely fast, but no fool dares not to slow down when approaching a planet, otherwise it will definitely be courting death, and even the Galaxy class may not be able to escape. Although this approaching superfast battleship had already slowed down outside the planet, it seemed to be in a hurry to land, but it still maintained a very dangerous speed and directly collided with the previous stars, fighting with the gods. The place of battle. Boom. After an earth-shattering sound, the world almost seemed to collapse, and there was a loud explosion. Fortunately, a lot of places there had been damaged by the war, and the battleship didn't really want to commit suicide. It stopped a little at the last moment, so the impact was not as terrifying as imagined. But the few money grubbers from the Stellar Alliance who were still nearby and wanted to grab the last bit of supplies were not so lucky. Under the impact, they screamed in agony and several were seriously injured. However, they did not dare to stay any longer. Even those who were seriously injured only stood up in despair after screaming, and then fled away. "My little friend, please stay." Suddenly, there was a sound from behind a star-level expert who was seriously injured but still bursting with strength. Well, he felt that with the sound of this sound, his body could no longer move. An extremely terrifying brainwave power enveloped him. It turned out that his strength was far inferior to that of the other party. In addition, after being seriously injured, he actually had no resistance at all, and the power was directly captured to the rear front of the battleship. And the battleship slowly opened a huge gap. From this gap, a huge creature with a body of 4 to 5 kilometers stood faintly inside. Even though the battleship was already extremely huge, it still felt a little too small to carry him. Seeing this creature, that star-level creature, even more like a human with an expression as pale as ashes, trembled. Because he has already felt that the strength of this terrifying giant creature is definitely crushing his level, a mid-level star-level powerhouse. Not even an ordinary mid-level star, but a super strong person who has reached the mid-level star level and is considered powerful. "Don't worry, little friend. I just want to ask if Jia Yan is on this planet now." Suddenly, the huge monster with terrifying aura asked plainly to the stellar powerhouse he captured.